Welcome to our second episode of Wednesdays With, a series where we dive into the minds of athletes, redefining what it takes to play at the top level of sports. Today we're sitting with Jazz Ferguson. While his roots are in the high-stakes world of professional basketball with a career spanning over 15 years across Italy, France, Australia and the Middle East, he has since become a powerhouse in the Dubai professional landscape. Now an executive coach and global performance expert, Jazz is the founder of Reps with Jazz. He's here to share with us his journey from court to the boardroom as he's redefining success in the UAE and beyond. Great to have you with us, Jazz.
Thank you. That was a wonderful readout right there, so I appreciate it.
Oh, amazing. Thank you. So, Jazz, when you look back at your debut as an athlete, what is the biggest difference between that person and the professional you are today?
Well, first I would like to say there are a lot of similarities. The core, values in which I operate come to the forefront, and I think, having structure and consistency and discipline, all of those things are great advantages to have stepping into the business world.
Yeah.
But I think the difference between who I am now and my entire identity as an athlete is I have more business sense.
Yeah.
I have more business acumen, which I would say stepping into this lane, I probably had about zero business acumen. I've always had someone else propose things for me or handle everything on the business side for me. So being able to hold my own and walk into a room and be a business entity on my own is definitely the biggest difference.
Yeah. And you face some intense moments on field. What does your mental highlight reel look like when you need to stay calm under pressure?
It all goes back to just my imagination throughout the years. I'm enormous on preparation, so I try to be always prepared for any situation, but understanding that in sports, things are unpredictable. In life, things are unpredictable, but just be ready to adapt without being too emotional and make clear decisions. Once you make the decision, live with it, give it your best effort, and move in that direction.
Nice. And what is the one lesson you've learned from a loss or a setback that you've actually valued more than any of your wins, sorry?
A lesson I've learned, I think you just have to really be resilient. Hitting the ground and getting back up means much more than just resting on your wins or becoming comfortable, because there's always someone coming for your spot. Whether you feel like you're doing well, whether you feel like you're at the peak of your powers, you have to continue to prove yourself in every lane. Like, there's no getting to a certain position and resting there. That just doesn't exist in competitive landscapes.
Yeah. And just on that, I think as ex-athletes, the resilience is there. And when you bring it into the business environment, I'm pretty much the same as well. We don't give up. We keep going. Yeah. Whatever is thrown at us, we just take it. And we find ways to get out of the situations if they're not great. And if they're great, we'll take them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So as someone who has balanced being a student athlete and a pro, what was the hardest identity shift you had to make?
Well, the identity shift certainly goes from seeing yourself as an athlete and then being seen by others as an athlete first. When you have the ability to make that depiction, of course, live with who you are, and the reputation you've built for yourself can sometimes get you in these rooms, but then you have to be sharp in the world that you're stepping into. You don't just say, okay, I'm an athlete and rest on that. You have to be able to pull your weight just like you would in the performance world, because it's just a different way of performing.
Yeah, no, definitely. And if you could go back and give the rookie version of yourself one piece of advice about the noise that comes with professional sports, what would that be?
Embrace it. Don't don't take the game home with you. Leave the game on the court. I used to be very emotional. Everything as far as my week and everything in my personal life would always depend on the result of the game.
Yeah,
And as I become an older athlete, you understand that you have to embrace the entire journey. You take those wins, you take those losses, the good games, the bad games, and you use those as lessons. And in life, this is such a valuable point. Even with everything that we've lived through recently with the
yeah,
current events.
yes,
You make decisions and you try to make the best out of those decisions. You live through those decisions. And I think the biggest decision that I've made recently was to actually decide to stay here and continue to build and be a positive voice through a time of so much uncertainty. And I think it's worked out well.
yeah. No, good. And I know we've had discussions about this, about what's going on here, and you've always been, no, it's going to be all right. Let's stay positive,
Yeah.
and it looks like it will be. So
Yeah.
yeah. What is a passion or interest of yours that would completely surprise your fans if they saw you doing it at the weekend?
Well, there's two things. One for sure is being a comedian at home because my son thinks I'm Dave Chappelle. Putting a smile on his face is everything to me, and I probably don't give off much of a comedian vibe in person or
Yeah,
with my
yeah,
public image. And
definitely.
second would be that I am religious about song lyrics.
Right.
So I used to think back to my childhood about how many full albums I know front to back, and it's because I'm just so much of a lyricist. I like lyrics more than I actually like music.
Wow. I wouldn't have guessed any of that. So yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for sharing. So you've traveled all over for your career, but what is it about being here in Dubai that feels different from other global sports hubs?
Just the potential that Dubai has to be for sports in general, it has the potential to be the global sports hub. With the highlights, the cameras, the action, but also the intention of investing here and growing sports here.
Yeah.
I think Dubai is the place that you want to be
Yeah.
in business, in family, and safety. The only other element to grow here in Dubai is the sports element.
Yeah.
And because it's pretty much behind in all sports, there's so much room for growth that that element of potential being filled, if it gets filled, there's no other country that's going to be able to compete, let
Absolutely.
alone a city.
Absolutely. I have to agree 100%. Just moving on a little bit then. So you've achieved incredible success early on. How has the idea of building a legacy changed as you've gotten more experienced?
Just understanding that my career has been a backbone for what I want to build. For a long time, I didn't see that my why was actually impacting people instead of being an athlete or being an entertainer. That's something that I've always loved and I've always been able to, organically take in. But the impact that I've had on people along the way has helped me realize how I want the rest of my life and the rest of this new transition to look. And that is a legacy, how I want my son to view me, how I want my family and friends to view me, and ultimately the people that I get to impact on a daily basis.
No, true. Just a little bit on, in the world of elite sports, wealth is often talked about in terms of contracts. But what does true personal wealth mean to you in terms of your time and family?
Well, first of all, health. I think being able to get up and make sure that you're investing in your body from a physical and cardiovascular aspect is personal wealth for me first, because it gives me clarity in my mind as well. I feel good about myself.
Yeah.
But then having the relationships at home that are strong and nurtured, building relationships outside of work. It could be friendships, it could be people that you go into business with, but also having strong interpersonal relationships. That is an element of wealth that I think, if you're strong on some of those fronts, the financial aspect kind of flows with it,
Yeah.
even though it may take a little more time than what you want it to take. But I think investing in your body and investing in your relationships definitely builds that center of wealth that ultimately, combines with financial aspect as well.
Absolutely. And I'm thinking, obviously, when you were younger, your aspirations in terms of wealth was probably different, but now with a young one, you're probably starting to think more about future building and,
Yeah,
that side of things as well.
so for me, it's a unique situation because as a younger athlete, I had no financial literacy. And, having someone like you as a friend and someone that can potentially do business with is something that I probably needed as a younger athlete,
Yeah.
but that I can also advise young players to have someone like you,
Absolutely.
and then be able to grow and build earlier than understanding what financial literacy is at 30, when you start making these contracts at 22, 23 years old.
And I think, just building on from that, from my point of view, when I go and talk to the younger emerging athletes, a lot of times I feel that they're not really, it's not they're not understanding, but for them, what I'm talking about is not a priority. They're thinking about
Yeah.
training, they're thinking about competing, how they can win. And what I'm saying, they're sort of thinking, okay, I don't know, sounds okay, but they're not that interested. It's only later on in life
Yeah.
when they start looking back and think, okay, potentially, you know what I mean? So it's tough, from our side, we're trying to get out there and speak to as many younger athletes as possible.
Yeah.
But also helping the ones that have kind of been through the process and then on the other side as well,
Absolutely.
to see what we could do. And what is the one legacy you want to leave behind that has nothing to do with your stats or trophies or anything?
Oh, for sure, the impact that I have on young lives, specifically. I think, being in a position where I've gained the respect of my peers and coaching staffs and organizations, the work that I'll do on the executive coaching level will be fulfilling. But I think impacting young people and helping them build their confidence, seeing their growth through the months and years, is going to be at the forefront of my legacy, because this is something that I want my son to see. This is something that I want him to remember me by